A body is found in a bog that is over 2,000 years old. So this sets us off on a strange journey through a book that is part mystery, part eco-fiction, with a little bit of a horror-esque tinge to it. The book we're going to talk about today is Bog Queen by Anna North. This is a random book I stumbled across at the library. I have found myself drawn to books that have environments that take place outside, whether it's the woods, the bog, the swamps. Like, I like stories that have that kind of environment, and this just kind of sounded fascinating to me. So you have this woman, Agnes, who is called in to identify this body of this woman. She's a forensic anthropologist, and she's really good at what she does. This kind of work excites her because the body tells her so many different stories about where this person came from, a place and a time, and like what they went through. And she likes to put all those pieces together and discover like about the lives of these people that have passed on and the circumstances in which they passed on. So in the synopsis of the book, it talks about like seeking vengeance for what had happened to this 2,000-year-old body. And I was like, what the F? How are they supposed to do that? It's been 2,000 years. Like, the people who did this are even alive still, because it seems to be possible foul play. But that's not how, I guess, she would seek to avenge the bodies she finds. And how she does that is by learning their story and telling their story. And they say that in the book. And I was like, okay, well, that solves the riddle of the synopsis. It made it a little more out to be like, just gonna go get these people who did this. But that wasn't the case. And so when they first found the body, at first they think it was this woman who was killed in like 1961, because there's this man who admitted to the murder and of dumping her body in the bog. And then they find out, oh no, it's not that. And it's way older than they ever possibly imagined. This was found because there's a bunch of peat cutters, and there's this company that's basically like cutting up the bog. But they also have a bunch of environmentalists who are trying to prevent them from doing this on the land. And then with this body found, this kind of like throws a wrench in both sides of the environmentalists trying to protect the bog, and then you have the people trying to dig up the bog and destroy the land and turn it into housing developments. So this find, which is very historical and significant and something that will probably be studied for years, kind of stops stuff in its tracks, but it also puts up some roadblocks and stuff for with Agnes, who is the main character, her and some of the other people who are trying to like discover more about the body and find out more about the body, because they do find some artifacts there too. And so you have a story that's like part mystery, part eco-lit, a little bit horror-ish. I say that in the fact that like there are unsolved crimes and there was violence that happened. And so you also get part of the story of the bog woman. You get this flash into the past of like how her life actually was, who she was, where she had traveled to, and just who she was as a person. And it's quite a fascinating read. Like, I was pretty captivated by it. I enjoyed the journey of finding out about this woman's life. And then also with the person they thought it was. So one of the family members of the woman who was apparently murdered by her husband shows up. She's like, at first doesn't believe that the other body isn't her aunt, because that's who it was. It was supposedly her aunt, and they want to have the body and take it home so that she can finally rest. And they're like, well, actually, this isn't her. So then she wants to continue the search to find her aunt's body, which the guy had admitted that he had dumped there. And so you have that coming into play as well. The weird dynamics between everyone in the story, and Agnes is kind of caught in the middle of everything, you know, like she wants to learn as much as she possibly can about this body. She wants to dig more, to find more artifacts, because they find what seems to be like an old piece of fabric that may have writings on it of some sort. And then they find some sort of also like utensil sort of thing, not like to eat with. It was more like maybe a writing source. It's a very historical find, and it's very fascinating. I really like the fact that in the book, you get to see some of the life that this bog woman had lived, that was not just through the eyes of the Agnes character, but through the actual character. So you see back into the past and what had happened. It's kind of sad. It's strange. It's eerie. I found it to be quite an enjoyable story. You know, like sometimes I get into like, I read a lot of horror, so I read a lot of like darker stuff. And this was more, you know, a little bit of darkness at the edges, but more fascinating and mysterious about finding out like, who was this woman? How did she die? What happened to her? And all of that. What's going on with Agnes and her life? And like Agnes trying to, you know, find her place in this job environment she's in. And she doesn't want to like give up what she's working towards, because it seems like the people who were in her life prior, her father and her ex-boyfriend, it seemed like they had a lot of plans for her that she didn't really want. And so it's like her dad's always like wanting her to come home and, you know, you don't have to do this, you can always come home, da 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 da. But she wants to follow like her heart, and she's very passionate about what she does. So I thought it was a pretty fantastic read. If you like stories that have an outdoors environment, that are kind of historical, that are also a mystery and just captivating and strange, then Bog Queen was quite a fantastic read. I enjoyed my time at the pages, and if any of that sounds good, I would definitely say check it out. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.